Hey there, this is Brad from Roots, and I'm here with another tutorial on flint knapping and making some basic stone tools. Today we're going to talk about how to make hide scrapers and wood scrapers. You're going to need to start with a flake, like we made in the video last week. If you haven't seen it, here's the video on how to make flakes. You want a flake that's got a flat side and a thick side and about 3 thin edges. You're going to need a couple pressure flakers, one thick and one thin, a little hammerstone, and a hand pad. Now, you want to start by checking this thing out and figuring out where your margin wants to be. So I'm going to just trim this little pointy nose off. When you're trimming, you want to make sure you're taking flakes real close to the edge. If you're trimming thin edges and you bite too much, it's going to take a C-shaped bite out of the edge or give you a snap break. So be careful, just trim the edge, and you're only going in one direction, and you're only going to go towards away from the flat side, towards the side with more mass. And you're just going to trim the margin up here. So you also want to use a steep angle so that your edges are about 80 to 90 degrees. Once you've trimmed the outside, then you're going to switch to pressure flaking. And again, you're going to go just in the same direction, and again, you're going to use steep flakes. Make sure you use your legs to squeeze the flakes off and not your arms with these thicker flakes. And make sure that you use these steep flakes away from the flat side. If you're using antler, you don't need to abrade the edges. If you're using copper, you're going to want to abrade so that your tool doesn't slip right off the edge. The spacing of your teeth is going to depend on what kind of tool you want and what you're using it for. Anything between 1/8 and 1/4 of an inch will work on wood. Here I'm going to show some basic scraping. I like to use this tool in one direction and then another, and that really gives the rasp-like effect. And this really allows you a lot of precision with shaping a piece of wood, but is a little bit more persistent and aggressive than using the 90-degree edge scraper. So I like to use this, and then I like to switch to the 90-degree edge scraper for cleanup. And I show how to do this again in another video that you can check out. Once you've used this tool, you can just resharpen it by taking another line of flakes, or you can turn it into a hide scraper. So these teeth are way too big and aggressive. That would turn your hide into ribbons, right? So you want to reduce these teeth, and that's what you're going to use this finer pressure flaker for. And you're just going to go around the outside margin and trim again in one direction and again with steep flakes all these deltas off, all these little areas between the flakes where the teeth were sticking out. We want to trim those off, and that's going to leave a bunch of really tiny teeth behind. Now, remember to use a steep angle, and it's okay once you move to these real little flakes to work just in your hands. You don't want to put strain on your wrists too much here, but I'm using precision more than I'm using power to remove these flakes. I really just want to get the tool right at the very edge, right on the tooth, and pry it off. So I want to keep my tool at a steep angle so that I leave a steep edge behind. That steep 80 to 90 degree edge that you leave behind is really great for scraping, and that's going to give you the most longevity in your tool. Now, the margin here is nice, but these teeth are just a little bit too big for hide scraping. That would, again, that would turn a fox hide or a rabbit hide to ribbons. So you're going to have to take another round of flakes off, and really the trick here is to make sure that you're not crushing the edge, that you're really just picking those little tiny teeth off and leaving behind an edge that's sharp between 80 and 90 degrees and has these tiny little teeth. The margin that you leave behind, that outer edge and the shape that you create there, is also going to be important depending on what kind of hide that you're using. So finally, something to look out for with this is that you have no teeth sticking out above the rest. That one lone tooth sticking out above the rest can cut right through a thin hide like a fox or a squirrel or a rabbit. So you can see these tools work great. The little tiny teeth do a great job pulling the fibers of the hide up. I love to use this for a dry scrape, either doing hides like pelts where you're just scraping the membrane, or even I've done this with a deer where I stuck the tool into a handle and dry scraped a deer hide with it, and they work great. They're real easy to resharpen. You just take another tiny line of teeth off, and I found them to work better than the metal ones. The other thing I really like about this is that you can build the edge to work with different parts of the hide. So if you're working a flat section, or you're trying to get into an area like a mask where you're trying to do the face, then these thin areas can be perfect for that. So thanks for checking us out. If you Want to learn more? You can check out the school at rootsvt.com. If you liked this video, please like, share, or subscribe, or check out our school and classes. Thanks so much. Good luck.